What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and I promised we'd come back and talk about this, and we really need to. So, over on Twitter, they have been dropping hints on the DanChro's page about what's coming for the first anniversary, and I really want to talk about this, because this could be massive. There's a lot that's really implied here by this, and they've still got hints that are dropping over the past couple of days, but there's a high likelihood that we know roughly at least who's involved in the upcoming event. So the first clue they gave us a couple days ago was the Immortal Evil Dragon. And a lot of people were like, One-Eyed Black Dragon? That's really what we were all thinking at first. Like, that's really the number one place that they're going to go with this, right? So it was kind of a no-brainer. But then they hit us on the 7th with this clue. 51st floor. Now, initially, on the face of it, I was like, whatever. But someone reminded me to go, one of you guys on the stream reminded me to go read the Sword Oratoria manga. And so I went and read the manga, and at the very end of the first volume of the manga, it's just kind of a passing thing, but they mention the 51st floor. We'll get to why... Well, let me get to the next panel before we get too crazy into this, right? 51st floor... First volume of Sword Oratoria manga. Then we get here to Diva and Belle's scandal. And I was thinking, like, what is Belle's scandal? What would be his scandal? And who's the diva? And the more I thought about it, I'm like, the only thing I could think of with the scandal were the Xenos. I mean, the Xenos are still not accepted in society, right? Like some people in the different familias are at least aware of the Xenos and all that stuff. They know ish what's going on, but I'm like, who's the diva? Who would be considered a diva? But the more I went back and I thought about this, when they first introduced the second Xenos that Belle really has a deep interaction with in the most recent season of the series, they introduced the mermaid girl, Marie or Mary or whatever you want to call her. And they introduce her singing. Okay, let's put this together, right? Let's go back. Immortal Evil Dragon. Well, first, like I said, One-Eyed Black Dragon, sure. 51st floor. Well, how could this have something to do with the One-Eyed Black Dragon? Because the One-Eyed Black Dragon escaped the dungeon forever and ages ago. However, on the 51st floor, they show Cadmus, which is a dragon in the 51st floor, who is protecting a lake or a body of water of sorts, where a mermaid girl might survive. And we know that she actually goes to the lower floors. Well, I don't know about that low, but we've seen her traveling through the lower floors of the dungeon. Like, this is a thing. This all tracks, right? This all has canonical weight to it. So, instead of being the One-Eyed Black Dragon, we could be looking at Cadmus. We could be looking at some activity on the 51st floor, and we could easily be looking at Mary, and, obviously, Belle went after the first Xenos, arc in Season 3, with Winnie and all that stuff. It was very scandalized. It was scandalous that he would protect a monster. I mean, most of these people have absolutely no idea that some of these monsters can actually be, thought controlled creatures, not just, monsters, but actually sentient, for lack of a better way to put it, creatures. So, with thoughts and with drives and that can speak and that can communicate and aren't necessarily just, feral and brutish for the sake of it. So, that's a scandal, right? But let's continue on, because it gets really interesting. Especially DanMeMo players from way back in the day are going to get really excited about the next couple panels, because got us a Beauty's Charm. Well, it could only be one of three people. Is that going to be Freya? Ishtar's gone. Is it a Freya thing? Is it a Freya thing? No. It's Aphrodite. We are going to be getting... Now, remember, the Aphrodite stories that we got in DanMemo were non-canon, or at least movie canon, whatever you want to call it. We're not going to go full Dragon Ball and say, oh, there's the little light novel canon and the movie canon. I'm just going to call those non-canonical stories. They're characters and whatever that are in the canon universe. We know that. We know of this information. However, it seems like we are about to be introduced to a canon story that introduces the Aphrodite Familia. Now, will they use the same art for Aphrodite? God, I hope so, because I love the Aphrodite. I mean, how crazy would it be for them to literally... I don't think... Now, I could be wrong here. As far as I'm aware, and I might be wrong, I'm not the foremost authority on this. I don't believe there was ever a design for Aphrodite prior to DanMemo, or if there was, it's not something that's highly published and highly, kind of publicized, for lack of a better way to put it. Is there a possibility we're about to see that same Aphrodite that we saw back during the fourth anniversary of DanMemo, but in a canonical, lore-driven story? Now, down here it says Fujino Omori, SB Creative Corp. So that tells me, and DanMemo 5 project, check that out. DanMemo 5 projects. This, initially when I read that, I was like, okay, it's Freya, right? But this dropped last night, and this changes, or this morning actually, this changes everything. Everything. So, it looks like we're reading Aphrodite. It looks like we're reading the 51st floor. It looks like the Xenos are back. I'm stoked, y'all. Let me know what you guys think. Now, if you have other clues, if you think other things are happening, if you think that... But that's the Aphrodite Familia crest. I mean, you can fact check that beast. Unless I'm completely off my rocker. Possible. I won't... I'm never going to rule that out. I could be entirely, completely insane. But this is going to be wild, guys. So for those of you that are DanMemo fans that haven't adopted DanChro yet, get on it. Like, at least, if nothing else, to enjoy the story. You don't have to enjoy the gameplay. At least get on board with the story, because we are about to get something huge, it seems. But that's my take. If you've got a different take, you guys let me know. All these are over on Twitter. I'll put a link down below to DanChro's Twitter page. I'm not going to call it the other thing because reasons. It will always be Twitter in my eyes. Let me know what you guys think. I'm stoked. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And I'll be back with more DanChro coming up for you guys really soon.